In 2012, the three biggest chip makers on Earth did something no rival had ever done to a supplier. Intel, Samsung, and TSMC together wrote checks worth roughly $5.3 billion not to buy a company but to keep one alive and fund its research. That company was a small Dutch machine maker most people had never heard of. Its name was ASML. And the machine it was racing to finish would decide who got to make every advanced chip on the planet, from the phone in your pocket to the servers running today's AI. To understand why three fierce competitors would suddenly bankroll the same supplier together, you have to go back almost 30 years to a company nobody expected to survive, let alone win. To understand why any of this matters, you need to understand one machine, the lithography scanner. It prints the microscopic patterns that turn blank silicon into a working chip, layer by layer using light bounced through a stack of precision lenses. No lithography machine, no chip. It doesn't matter how clever your chip design is or how much money you have. If you can't print the pattern accurately enough, you can't build it. Whoever makes the best lithography machine doesn't just sell hardware. They control the ceiling of what every chip maker on Earth is physically able to build. For most of the 20th century, that throne belonged to Japan. Nikon started life in 1917 as an optics and camera company, and that heritage made it a natural fit for lithography, where the entire business is precision optics. By the 1980s, Nikon and its rival Canon supplied the machines that printed chips for Intel, IBM, and nearly every fab on the planet. At their peak, the Japanese toolmakers controlled the overwhelming majority of the global lithography market, and Nikon alone commanded a huge share of it. Nikon wasn't just a player in this industry. Nikon effectively was the industry, and everyone else was fighting for the leftovers. ASML started in 1984 as an afterthought. It was a joint venture between the electronics giant Philips and a much smaller equipment maker called ASM International, run out of a leaky prefab building in the quiet Dutch town of Veldhoven. The founding team was a few dozen engineers, working with a fraction of Nikon's budget, Nikon's factories, or Nikon's decades of customer trust. Philips itself wasn't even fully committed, treating the venture as a small side bet rather than a core business. Almost nobody in the industry expected this scrappy little Dutch operation to matter. For years, that low expectation looked completely accurate. ASML burned through cash, leaned on Philips for survival funding, and shipped early machines that lagged behind the Japanese competition on reliability and speed. Customers treated ASML as the backup option, called only when the preferred Japanese suppliers were sold out. Inside the Dutch tech scene, people quietly wondered whether the company would even survive the decade, let alone challenge the market leaders. Losses piled up. Engineers left for more stable jobs, but a small group inside ASML had already made a decision that would take years, maybe a decade, to pay off. The first real turning point was a machine architecture called TWINSCAN, a dual-stage system that let one silicon wafer get measured and aligned, while a second wafer was being exposed to light at the exact same time. It sounds like a small engineering trick. In practice, it meant ASML machines could process significantly more wafers per hour than anything Nikon or Canon had on the factory floor. Chip makers care about throughput above almost everything else because it directly decides their cost per chip and how many chips they can ship. For the first time, ASML had found a real, defensible edge, not just a cheaper price. ASML then made a second bet that looked strange to outsiders at the time. Instead of building every single component itself, the way Nikon insisted on doing, ASML locked in an exclusive long-term partnership with the German optics maker Zeiss for lenses and mirrors. That freed ASML to pour its own engineering resources into system design and one specific, brutally difficult long-term goal: a future generation of lithography using extreme ultraviolet light, known in the industry simply as EUV. EUV light sits at a wavelength of about 13.5 nanometers, so short that it gets absorbed by almost everything it touches, including ordinary glass lenses and even the air in the room. Building a machine around it meant designing mirrors so smooth that scaling one up to the size of an entire country would leave bumps no taller than a few centimeters, all of it operating inside a sealed vacuum chamber. It meant generating that light in the first place by vaporizing tiny droplets of molten tin with a laser, tens of thousands of times per second. Most of the industry considered EUV a science project, not a product. ASML treated it as the whole future of the company. Nikon faced the same fork in the road and chose differently. It kept building its own optics and light sources almost entirely in-house, the same self-reliant model that had made it strong for decades. That model was slower to adapt when EUV demanded specialized outside expertise on an aggressive, unforgiving timeline. Nikon instead pushed to extend its existing technology, a technique called deep ultraviolet immersion lithography, squeezing more performance out of a proven approach rather than committing fully to the unproven one. From a boardroom in Tokyo, it looked like the responsible, low-risk bet. From a decade's distance, it turned out to be the wrong one. By 2012, EUV research had become so expensive and so slow that ASML needed outside help just to finish it on schedule. So its own customers stepped in. Intel, Samsung, and TSMC together committed roughly $5.3 billion in direct research funding and took minority ownership stakes in ASML itself, with Intel alone taking around 15% of the company. In exchange, they locked in early access to whatever machine ASML built next. It was an almost unheard-of arrangement in any industry, fierce rival chip makers funding their shared suppliers' research together because none of them could afford to be the one company left without the machine. A year later, in 2013, ASML bought Cymer, the American company that made the specialized high-power lasers needed to generate EUV light in the first place, for roughly $2.5 billion. That single deal closed the last remaining gap. ASML now controlled the optics relationship through Zeiss, the light source through Cymer, and the overall system integration in-house. No competitor had all three pieces working together. No competitor was even close to catching up anymore. Today, ASML is the only company on Earth that makes EUV lithography machines, full stop. Each one costs well over $100 million, weighs roughly as much as a loaded cargo jet, and ships in dozens of crates on chartered planes because no other transport can handle it safely. Every advanced chip company that matters, from TSMC to Samsung to Intel, has no alternative supplier for this technology. Not a preferred one, the only one on the entire planet. Nikon still makes lithography tools today, but mostly for older, less advanced chip production, a small fraction of the market it once completely ruled. ASML, the underdog born in a leaky prefab building, became one of the most valuable technology companies in Europe. The lesson here isn't really about optics, lasers, or Dutch engineering. It's about what happens when one company bets absolutely everything on the hardest possible problem in the room, while its biggest, richest rival bets on staying comfortable with what already works.